The following program is the work of the broadcast students at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT Magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland, which were produced over the last week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Coming up on BCIT Magazine, the March for Our Lives protest comes to Vancouver.
Activists rally against Site C.
And we look at brand activism in Vancouver. Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Lloyd Nellas.
And I'm Lehal. Hundreds of thousands of protesters across the United States took part in the March for Our Lives last weekend. Here in Vancouver, about 200 people also marched, gathering at Jack Poole Plaza. Students from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida organized the demonstration after the shooting at their school in February. One of the protesters in Vancouver said gun violence transcends borders.
This is not just in the United States, this is everywhere across the world. My parents' first-hand experience, a war-torn country, what used to be a paradise to them just has nothing left. And so I know the effects of what gun violence can do.
The demonstrators called for tougher gun laws in the U.S., including better background checks and banning gun sales to people under 21.
Activists in Vancouver gathered to talk about a controversial energy project in northern BC. Ben Carney reports.
Signs like these line the walls of the Native Education College in Vancouver. A local community group invited speakers from all over Canada here to talk about the effects of the Site C hydroelectric dam and support the Treaty 8 First Nations who live in the area.
We're at a moment where we really need to support the First Nations up north, and we need to understand that those of us who live down south in Vancouver, we owe a debt to the folks up north who have sacrificed so much for the electricity that we use. About a third of the electricity we're using every day comes from up in the Peace already, and it's time to say enough, no more sacrifice zones.
One environmental scientist says the land at Site C is more valuable than people realize.
Because of the east-west orientation of the river, they warm up a month earlier in the spring and they stay frost-free a month later in the fall, and that allows you to grow a whole bunch of things because of the long day length that you can't grow anywhere else up there. We've heard over and over again that it's perfectly all right because there's lots of farmland up on the benches, but that's not the same kind of farmland.
BC Hydro aren't stopping construction. In fact, they awarded 3 new contracts for work on Site C earlier this month. A statement in a recent press release for BC Hydro said BC Hydro is committed to following rigorous standards for all of its procurement activities. Each contract has been awarded following a comprehensive evaluation and due diligence process. Wendy Holmes studies the relationship between science and agriculture, and she says the project could be very dangerous for people living in Peace River.
It's super important for British Columbia because we import 60% of the food, of the fruits and vegetables that we could produce here. We have 1 in 4 children living under the poverty line in British Columbia. We have children in the north who are suffering from great nutritional concerns with respect to diet because of the cost of food.
The Site C inquiry panel said in a report last October that the project was over its $8.9 billion budget and may not be completed by its original 2024 estimation. Until it's built, these activists will keep fighting. Ben Carney in Vancouver with BCIT Magazine.
We are now joined live by our reporter Ben Carney. Ben, who were some of the notable speakers at the event?
Well, Lloyd, one of the most notable speakers at the event was Ken Boone. He's a third-generation farmer living along the Peace River, and his land's been expropriated for the construction of the Site C dam. He gave us some insight on what it's like to be farming his previous land during construction and how he thinks the Peace Valley can be of use to the rest of BC without the construction of a mega dam. Lloyd?
And Ben, why is the Site C land so valuable?
Well, many of the activists I spoke to gave me a host of reasons as to why the Site C land is so valuable, but many people are boiling it down to the soil. Adrian Peacock told me that because of the east-west orientation of the river, the soil quality allows for greater farming opportunities and also the existence of wildlife. Other considerations include marl. Many of the Treaty 8 First Nations living along the Peace River could be displaced due to the construction of the Site C dam. Back to you.
Another major energy project in BC also faced heated protests this week, with Green Party leader Elizabeth May being arrested. Dozens of others were also removed after protesting the Kinder Morgan pipeline project in Burnaby. The protests were triggered by logging done at the proposed terminal site.
A driver in Maple Ridge set an infamous record last week. Police caught the driver going 160 in a 70 zone. They say it's the highest speed they've seen all year. The driver was fined $483 and was warned about possible criminal charges.
Still to come on BCIT Magazine, the light rail transit debate in Surrey continues after new funding.
And a local charity gives free prescription glasses to seniors in need.
A defining moment for me was when I finished my first internship and got lots of really great feedback from industry professionals.
I would have never imagined I'd be walking into the floors of TSN and thinking, I'm not a student anymore, I'm here to work.
I will be starting a job with an investigative news program in Toronto, and I'm really excited to see that grow into what will become, hopefully, my dream job.
BCIT Broadcast and Online Journalism, putting you to work.
Journalism's changed a lot in the last 20 years, and BCIT's been at the forefront of that evolution.
Those are your news updates for Evolution 1079 News.
Now it seems like the industry is changing by the minute. So now, more than ever, we're taught how to adapt.
The federal government unveiled a new immigration plan that would
When I first started at BCIT, there was only one thing that I really wanted to do in journalism, and this program really opened my eyes to all the avenues of employment. And now I feel really confident that I have the skills to get hired.
From day one, you're out there chasing down stories.
You aren't just sitting in a classroom reading about journalism, you are a journalist.
BCIT Newsroom.
I look back at the work I was doing even 3 months ago, and it's just amazing to see how far you can come in such a little bit of time. This program really teaches you skills and techniques to learn how to better communicate.
Jamie Dodd in Vancouver.
In New Westminster.
In Burnaby.
For BCIT Magazine.
Welcome back to BCIT Magazine.
This week, our digital reporters Spencer Harwood and Vanessa Doban are investigating brand activism. Spencer joins us now with a preview of their story.
Last week, Domino's Pizza issued and retracted a statement in support of the Kinder Morgan pipeline. So we decided that we wanted to look at brand activism and how corporations kind of throw their hat into the political sphere. We went up to SFU to speak with their lecturer, Jody Baker, from the School of Communications, and he let us know the following. Basically, brands are no longer trying to sell you a newer, shinier product. They want to connect with you on a personal level, on a feeling level, and build trust. There's a distinct reason for this as well.
For the most part, they're ignoring the products and giving us these systems of values or collections of values under the brand, and then we're asked to identify with those values. And as long as they're doing that, they need to find those values that are close to us, those values that we can identify with, those values that we can connect with. And so that's why they are connecting with these larger issues, because they recognize that that's what people are interested in, that's what people, that's what concern people. So so it's the only way to be relevant.
We'll be speaking with Morgane Auger. She is a transgender politician who ran for the False Creek, Vancouver seat with the NDP and a big proponent to Lush's marketing campaign in support of transgender rights. And you'll be able to see that on our DigiDoc later this week. Back to you, Ryan.
Thank you, Spencer. You can find the full brand activism story on our website at bcitbroadcastnews.ca, and you can follow us on our social media channels.
Officials say a new light rail system could bring life back to the city of Surrey. But as my co-anchor Ryan Lehal reports, not everyone is excited about the new project.
It's a sound that all transit users are accustomed to hearing, and it's one this SkyTrain advocate would rather hear than the sound of light rail.
It's the fastest way to get around town. You generate the highest transportation benefits and highest time savings. You connect cities and areas in the community with the rest of the region.
SkyTrain for Surrey has advocated for an expansion of SkyTrain within the city for the last 5 years. Dela Cruz says SkyTrain is his main form of transportation, starting with King George Station. He says there are many issues with LRT.
It's about half as fast as SkyTrain. And we don't see these performance metrics because they don't want to discuss the performance metrics. It's a street running system. It will run at the speed of other traffic. It will cross major intersections, and that comes with a number of other issues of its own.
The Metro Vancouver's Mayor Council recently approved a plan for helping to fund the new system in Surrey.
Light rail was identified as the rapid transit choice that best meets the current and future transportation goals south of the Fraser.
Phase 1 of the project will see light rail connect Surrey, Newton, and Guildford along King George Boulevard and 104 Avenue. Phase 2 will help connect Surrey with Langley. Officials from the Surrey Board of Trade say Phase 1 will boost one Surrey community's economy.
Light rail transit is going to transform Newton. I think right now what you're seeing in Newton is a lot of businesses like the Newton Gaming Facility, they've left. You see a lot of for lease signs. But I know in speaking to the development community, it's going to allow a lot of people to move down King George, getting them out of those vehicles and getting them to really enjoy the businesses that are in the Newton area.
But Dela Cruz thinks otherwise.
They realize that you're going to build LRT out to Newton and the travel time is going to be the exact same as the current V line. Will more people actually be willing to ride this thing, or is that not going to be the case?
That's what officials are banking on. Construction on LRT is set to begin in 2019 with Phase 2 of the project to Langley yet to be finalized, which may give SkyTrain advocates hope for the future of Surrey. Ryan Lehal in Surrey for BCIT Magazine.
Interesting story, Ryan, but what does the city say about the claims that the SkyTrain expansion would be faster than a light rail?
Well, I spoke with Paul Lee from Surrey's Transit Department. He says speed doesn't solely determine the success of the line. Here's what he had to say.
The line certainly will move people from point A to point B, but it will move people from many to many. But at the same time, the line is used for building communities, to encourage investment, to build the kind of communities that we envisioned, which is medium density, accessible, sustainable, mixed use, and things like that. So the success of the line, if you just put the speed as the determinant of success, is totally wrong-headed, and they miss the point, right?
And regarding local businesses, Huberman mentioned that an LRT would bring more people back to Newton. Could you tell us more about the area?
Well, Huberman says there have been areas of Newton that have been hit hard, and one of those areas is along King George Boulevard between 72nd Avenue and 64th. The big draw to the area has been the Newton Gaming Facility, but that's set to close in late April. She says there will be an LRT station at the corner of King George and 72nd, which will increase foot traffic in the area.
The 2018 Juno Awards took place in Vancouver this weekend. The Bare Naked Ladies reunited with co-frontman Stephen Page. BC-born producer Diana Krall won Producer of the Year. Arcade Fire won Album of the Year. And Michael Bublé announced he and his wife are expecting their third child.
Seniors from the downtown east side received free prescription glasses this week from a local charity. And as our reporter Dennis Arellano tells us, they were more than grateful for the new look on life.
Seniors gave the stamp of approval for their new glasses. Volunteers were ready to help the 50 seniors chosen for a clearer view on life. Howard Ma created the Glasses Project to help the elderly in the downtown east side who can't afford glasses.
I think it was an optometry organization, I believe. I remember they had a quote in there about the need for this, particularly as more and more people are getting older.
According to the Canadian Association of Optometrists, by 2031, approximately 25% of the Canadian population will be over the age of 65.
Given there is quite a bit of poverty, the need is growing.
BC Medical Service Plan covers one full eye examination annually for seniors 65 and over, but it doesn't list anything for covering the cost of new glasses. Older people are 3 times more likely to lose their vision, which leaves them vulnerable to social isolation and depression.
Some of the seniors who come in here haven't had an eye exam for some time. They don't have the means.
Lily Heck participated in the project because her mother had macular degeneration, where the center point of everything you see permanently deteriorates, and she worried she could get it as well.
They didn't even know that they had some other issues, not just not being able to see, but they had macular degeneration.
50 seniors got a new look at life with the help of Douglas College, Richmond Lions Club, and the downtown East Side Neighborhood House. And Ma is very grateful people were able to help.
The Richmond Lions Club, people have donated money quite easily to my surprise. So that's why I'm quite confident that I can roll this across not just Vancouver and BC, but right across Canada.
Ma hopes to help countless people lead a more dynamic life. Dennis Arellano in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Our reporter Dennis Arellano joins us now. Dennis, you mentioned that seniors are 3 times more likely to lose their vision, but why is that?
Well, it's not just an age-related thing. According to the National Coalition for Vision Health, 1 in 9 Canadians will develop irreversible vision loss by the age of 65. But what's surprising is that around 75% of those vision problems can be treated or even prevented. People just don't have that information. So you have hundreds and thousands of Canadians that are going about their daily lives unknowing they may have an eye disease that could potentially ruin their eye vision later on. Now, the Canadian Association for Optometrists suggests that Canadians should get their eyes examined every 2 years and even in some cases annually. Ryan?
So Dennis, what's next for the Glasses Project?
Well, this was the first year for the project, but Ma hopes to expand it to further than just the Lower Mainland. You know, he told me when he first started this project, he was really surprised by the amount of people that wanted to come and help. So he's really pushing this idea through social media so that others can join as well. He told me that for now, he wants to expand it to all of British Columbia, but eventually he would like to get it across all of Canada. He said his project's vision is to be able to provide free or near free prescription glasses to 1 million people in our country that can't afford them.
Later on BCIT Magazine, the Big Brothers of Greater Vancouver called for more volunteers.
And find out more about curling's growing popularity in Vancouver.
I chose BCIT because I know that all the programs are very hands-on. We have our own radio station, like it's one of the best programs that I've ever heard of.
I am starting a job on Monday, so confidence is high.
Honestly, I didn't think it was going to be this fun.
Looking to take a load off this weekend? Here are some of the fun things happening around Vancouver.
Play Dome is back at BC Plays. Rides, games, food, and fun all back as well. March 28th to April 2nd.
In Chilliwack, the Tulips of the Valley Festival returns. It's on from March 29th to April 29th. It'll feature local food trucks, Dutch delicacies, and of course, lots of tulips. And if you're looking for even more flowers, the Cherry Blossom Festival runs from April 3rd to April 29th. There'll be a special concert downtown to ignite the festival on April 5th, featuring local musical talent.
On April 7th, the Vancouver International Pillow Fight is back. A 15-minute mass pillow fight where only one person can be champion.
It's Easter, and that means the 10th annual Egg Hunt is back at the Van Dusen Botanical Gardens. Don't forget to bring your own basket. Hey, I found one.
Head on down to the Vancouver Convention Center this weekend for the Vancouver International Auto Show. Famous and exotic car models from Aston Martin, Lamborghini, and Porsche, as well as a vintage car collection and a famous car collection. Don't worry, you won't see a lot of Priuses like this.
Health Canada has recalled over 1 million uncertified USB chargers after it was found that they posed the risk of causing fires or electrical shocks. The chargers were on sale on gas stations and dollar stores around several provinces.
The Big Brothers of Greater Vancouver have brought back a campaign to shorten the lengthy wait times for mentors. My co-anchor Lloyd Nellas has more.
This purple net symbolizes all children still waiting for a big brother. The current wait is 2 years. Jacob and his mentor Sean have been together for that long, and he hopes kids can get the same chance he got. He says he's done a lot of growing since the two first met.
Well, I think I've changed more in sort of trying new things, going out more. I used to be a really isolated kid, stay in my room all day, not go outside or anything, but now I'm just really active, play basketball, yeah.
Sean says the growth goes both ways.
He has had a lot of influence on me. He has a great sense of humor, and I feel like sometimes I steal some of his style of humor. He gets me doing more outdoor stuff. He's very active and I have to keep up with him. And also we get to do things that I wouldn't maybe do every week.
About 100 kids like Jacob are waiting for a big brother, and more are waiting just to get on the list. Last year's initial run of the Purple Net project saw 40 new volunteers, but they say their work isn't close to over.
We have 100 children waiting for a big brother throughout the Lower Mainland. So we're looking for at least 100 more big brothers.
But for now, the Purple Nets will stay up to signify the group's need. Lloyd Nellas in Richmond for BCIT Magazine.
It's been a tough season for Canucks fans, but they got some good news this week. Prospect Adam Gaudette signed with the team after finishing his season at Northeastern University. Gaudette says he's looking forward to the challenge of the NHL.
You know, the only thing I can do is just go out there and play my game and focus on what I can control. You know, I can't control anything outside of playing hockey, but you know, I'm excited. I'm just gonna, you know, play hard like I always do and hope for the best.
Gaudette is a finalist for the Hobey Baker Award given to the top NCAA hockey player. The center led the NCAA in scoring with 60 points in 38 games.
The Curling Men's World Championship starts this weekend. Our producer Mack Britton visits the Vancouver Curling Club to find out how high-profile events drive interest in the sport.
Thank you. We're at the Vancouver Curling Club at the Hillcrest Center. I'm joined with Richard Brower. Richard, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks
Awesome.
for having me.
Thanks for coming. So tell me how you got started in curling.
Probably because my parents played. And I was intrigued enough to start doing it when I was in university at Queen's in Kingston in about 1982 or something like that. I went out and played in the Queen's had a Sunday night league, and I had no idea what I was doing. But I got started, and gradually after that I just started curling more and more until I more or less made it a career of working in curling.
And so obviously on television we see the Olympics, the Brier, the championships. Do you guys find here that those events boost your numbers?
Yeah, every 4 years you certainly get a boost, because when the Olympics is on, people who don't normally watch curling see it and they get fascinated by it. So for sure there's a big interest. The Olympics does it, there's no doubt about it.
Does it for all age groups too?
Oh yeah, yeah. We have kids coming in here. We don't let them out any younger than 8. But I also have a curler, believe it or not, who is 99 years old. So you could say it's pretty well a lifetime game if you're in good enough shape to play.
Sean Stone. And the Whiskey calling line. And so we just had the Women's World Championships. We got the men's coming up. We got Team Germany right here apparently.
Yes, they're getting ready to go to Vegas.
Awesome. What do you think the men's Canada team, what are their chances like?
I would say they've got to be the favorite.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare where a Canadian team going to a world championship isn't the favorite. There's always a lot of pressure on them because of that. But
we saw that at the Olympics.
Yeah, there were a few things maybe going on there at the Olympics. I think for sure the women struggled with feeling the ice. And that's a big part of it. If you can go and say, yeah, I know how this works and I can put the rock in the top 4 whenever I want, that's great. If you don't really feel it when you get there and you're struggling with it, then your confidence and your ability to make shots really goes downhill.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. I'm actually really excited for a little bit more curling. This has been Mack Britton down here at the Vancouver Curling Club, BCIT Magazine.
If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitbroadcastnews.ca.
Thanks for watching this week's edition of BCIT Magazine. I'm Lloyd Nellas.
And I'm Ryan Lehal. We leave you now with a look at some wildlife at BCIT's Burnaby campus.